There is something quiet and surprising about the private life of a queen. We often imagine long tables, silver plates, and perfect meals prepared with great care. But behind the palace doors, even Queen Elizabeth II had small cravings that did not always match her public image. She was known for discipline and routine, yet there were moments when she quietly enjoyed simple foods like a child at heart. A slice of chocolate cake, a humble sandwich, or even a bowl of cereal could bring her comfort in ways the world never expected. It may seem strange to think that a monarch, surrounded by the finest chefs, could prefer something so ordinary. Yet that contrast is what makes her story so human. According to former royal chefs and close staff, there were foods she loved deeply but rarely spoke about. Some were kept private to protect her image. Others were simply personal habits she never felt the need to share. Have you ever wondered what someone like her truly enjoyed when no one was watching? Not the grand banquets, but the quiet meals in between. These small choices often reveal more about a person than any formal event ever could. And in her case, they tell a story of comfort, routine, and quiet joy. As we begin, you may find yourself remembering your own favourite hidden treats. If you do, feel free to share them in the comments. Many viewers enjoy reading those small personal stories. And if you appreciate gentle journeys into history like this, you may consider subscribing. It helps keep these stories alive for others as well. One of the most surprising favourites was something very simple. The Queen had a strong liking for jam pennies. These were small circles of bread with butter and jam, cut neatly into tiny shapes. They were often served during tea, but according to reports, she sometimes requested them outside of formal settings. It was a quiet reminder of childhood, a taste that never left her. Now think about that for a moment. A woman who ruled for decades, who met world leaders and walked through great halls, still found comfort in something so small. Does that change how you see her? Another unexpected choice was scrambled eggs, but not in the usual way. She preferred them soft, almost creamy, sometimes with a hint of smoked salmon. Former chefs have shared that she liked them prepared very carefully, never overcooked. This was not about luxury, it was about precision and comfort, and there is a subtle difference there. Many people eat to impress others. She seemed to eat for calm and balance. That quiet difference tells us something important. At times, she also enjoyed a simple bowl of cereal late in the evening. This detail surprised many people when it became known. After a full day of duty, meetings, and formal dinners, she would return to something so plain. It was not about hunger alone. It was about routine. Have you ever noticed how certain foods feel like a safe place? For her, this may have been one of those moments. If this reminds you of your own habits, you are not alone. Many people find comfort in the same foods over many years. You might even pause and think about which food has stayed with you the longest. Another quiet favourite was dark chocolate. Not overly sweet, but rich and slightly bitter. According to royal insiders, she enjoyed it often, especially after lunch or dinner. It was one of the few indulgences she allowed herself regularly. There is something interesting here. Even in a life of great control, she allowed small pleasures. Not in excess, but in balance. This careful balance defined much of her lifestyle. As we move forward, consider how these small choices reflect a larger picture. Food is never just food. It carries memory, comfort, and identity. In her case, it also carried privacy. If you are enjoying this calm exploration, you might like to share it with someone who appreciates history. These stories are often best experienced together. Then there was her quiet fondness for afternoon tea sandwiches, especially those filled with cucumber and mint. While these are often seen as a symbol of royal tradition, her personal preference for them was genuine. She enjoyed them not just as a duty, but as a moment of peace in the day. But here is where things become more interesting. Despite all these refined choices, there were times when she preferred very simple meals over elaborate ones. Former staff have mentioned that she often avoided heavy sauces and rich dishes. She chose light, clean flavors instead. Why would someone with access to anything in the world choose simplicity? This question leads us deeper into her personality. She valued consistency, she trusted routine, and perhaps most of all, she understood the quiet power of small comforts. As we continue, the next revelations become even more surprising. Some of her private favorites were not just simple, but completely unexpected for someone in her position. As we continue, the story becomes even more personal. Behind the polished image of Queen Elizabeth II, there were quiet habits that revealed a very human side. One such example was her fondness for fish and chips. Yes, the same dish enjoyed across the United Kingdom. According to reports, this meal was sometimes prepared in a very simple way for her, without the usual formality. It was not served on fine plates during these moments, but in a relaxed setting, almost like any ordinary evening. Pause and think about that contrast. A queen, sitting with a dish known for its humble roots. Does that change how you picture royal life? There is something comforting in knowing that even the most powerful figures enjoy familiar foods. It brings them closer to us in a quiet way. If you have ever enjoyed a simple meal that brought back memories, you may understand this feeling well. Another surprising detail comes from her love of strawberries. While strawberries are not unusual, her preference for them was very specific. She only enjoyed them during their natural season in Britain. If they were out of season, she would politely refuse. This small choice reflected a deeper respect for nature and timing. It also raises a gentle question. In a world where anything can be available at any time, why would she choose to wait? Perhaps it made the experience more meaningful. Her meals often followed a pattern, but within that pattern were small personal touches. One of these was her quiet enjoyment of grilled Dover sole. This was one of the few dishes she consistently liked for dinner. Light, simple, and carefully prepared, it matched her preference for clean flavors. But even here, there was something deeper. She did not eat to impress others. She ate to maintain balance. This quiet discipline shaped her daily life in many ways. As you listen, you might notice how often her choices return to simplicity. It is a theme that appears again and again, and yet within that simplicity, there is great care. Another unexpected favourite was her love for scones, especially those served with clotted cream and jam. While this may sound traditional, reports suggest she had a particular way of eating them. She preferred to spread the jam first, then the cream. This small detail became a topic of quiet interest among those who worked closely with her. It may seem like a minor point, but it shows how even the smallest habits can become part of a person's identity. Have you ever had a specific way of eating something that others found unusual? Moments like these remind us that personal habits do not disappear with status or power. They remain, quietly shaping daily life. There was also her careful approach to portion size. Unlike many grand images of royal dining, she often ate very small portions. This was not about restriction alone, it was about consistency. She believed in eating just enough, never too much. This idea may feel familiar to many older viewers who grew up with similar values. Food was something to respect, not to waste or overindulge in. At times she also enjoyed a simple roast chicken, especially when dining privately. This dish, often associated with comfort and home, appeared regularly in her routine. It was prepared without heavy seasoning, allowing the natural flavour to stand on its own. Again, we see the same pattern: clean, simple, balanced. But here is where things take a more thoughtful turn. Despite these gentle habits, there were foods she avoided completely. Garlic, for example, was rarely used in royal kitchens during her reign. The reason was practical. She often met many people each day, and strong flavors could linger. This decision reflects something larger. Her life was not entirely her own. Even her meals were shaped by duty. Have you ever considered how much of her daily life was guided by responsibility rather than choice? There is a quiet weight in that thought. Another detail comes from her preference for afternoon rituals. Tea was not just a habit, it was a moment of pause. Alongside her tea, she sometimes enjoyed a slice of Dundee cake, filled with dried fruits and a hint of sweetness. This was not an everyday indulgence, but it held a special place in her routine. Food, in her world, was closely tied to time. Certain meals belonged to certain hours. Certain tastes belonged to certain seasons. This structure created a sense of order in a life that was often unpredictable. As we move closer to the final part of this story, one question remains. Were these choices truly private, or were they quietly understood by those around her? The answer may not be simple, but what is clear is this. Behind the formal image of a queen was a woman who found comfort in small, steady habits. And sometimes, those habits reveal more truth than any public moment ever could. As we enter the final part of this quiet journey, the picture becomes softer and perhaps more meaningful. The foods Queen Elizabeth II enjoyed were never just about taste. They were small anchors in a life shaped by duty. Each choice, no matter how simple, carried a sense of rhythm and calm. One of the lesser-known habits was her fondness for marmalade sandwiches, especially in the morning. This detail gained gentle attention in later years, but according to reports, it had been part of her routine for a long time. The sweetness was light, not overwhelming, and it paired well with her morning tea. It was not a grand breakfast, but it was steady and familiar. Think about how many mornings in her life began this same way, day after day, year after year, across decades of change. There is something deeply human in that repetition. Another quiet favourite was venison, often sourced from royal estates. This choice reflected tradition, but also a connection to the land. It was prepared simply, without heavy sauces, allowing the natural flavour to remain. Even in this, her preference stayed consistent. Yet even as we explore these foods, a deeper question begins to form. Were these meals chosen freely, or were they shaped by the expectations around her? It is likely a mix of both. Like many people, she found comfort in what she knew. But unlike most, her choices were always observed, always noted, even when she tried to keep them private. There is also a gentle story shared by former staff about her love for ice cream. Not in large amounts and not often in public, but quietly enjoyed on occasion. She preferred simple flavors, served neatly without decoration. It was a small pleasure, almost childlike in its simplicity. Pause for a moment and consider that image. A queen, after a long day, enjoying something so familiar and sweet. It brings a sense of warmth that no grand story can quite match. Food in her life was never about display. It was about balance, memory, and routine. This may be why so many of her preferences remained private. They were not meant for the world. They were meant for her. As the years passed, her habits changed very little. While the world around her moved quickly, her meals stayed steady. This consistency may have offered a quiet sense of control in a life filled with constant change. Have you ever noticed how certain routines help you feel grounded? For her, food seemed to play that role. There is also something to be said about what she chose not to eat. Heavy, rich dishes were often avoided. Excess was rarely part of her personal routine. This was not just a matter of taste, but of discipline. It reflected a generation that valued restraint and balance. And yet, Within that discipline, there was room for quiet enjoyment, a piece of dark chocolate, a warm scone, a simple sandwich. These small moments added softness to a life that required great strength. As we reach the final reflection, it becomes clear that these foods were never truly hidden. They were simply personal, known to those close to her, but not shared widely. Perhaps that is what makes them so interesting. They remind us that even the most public figures have private comforts, and those comforts are often simple. In a world that often celebrates excess, her choices offer a different lesson. They show the value of routine, the comfort of familiarity, and the quiet joy of small pleasures. If these stories have brought back memories of your own favourite meals, you are not alone. Many people find that food connects them to moments, to people, and to times long past. You are welcome to share those memories. They add warmth to conversations like this. And if you have stayed through this entire journey, perhaps you felt something more than curiosity. Perhaps you felt a quiet connection. Because in the end, beyond the crowns and ceremonies, there was a woman who found comfort in the same simple things many of us do. A cup of tea, a familiar taste, a moment of calm at the end of the day. These are not grand secrets. They are gentle truths, and sometimes it is these gentle truths that tell the most lasting story.